I am going to start with what you might perhaps think is sort of some really, really basic stuff. And I do that because we in the library have many, many different processes and sometimes parallel processes. Sometimes we have processes that are, opaque to people who are not working in the libraries. And so you might think that, because y'all are postdocs, like you've been to undergraduate, you've been graduate students, now you're postdocs, now you're on your way. And asking questions is super great. Now would be a really good time to ask questions. Some of the things that I want to point out to you, just on the front page of the library, right here, is e-printing. E-print is a great thing. They have a sort of like a new and updated version of e-print, but it's also the case that that's an OIT joint. It is not a library joint. It's the link downstairs in the library. When you have problems with your computer, when you have problems with printing, when you have problems with getting to a site or something like that, the link OIT is in the library. It's not the library, right? The library happens on all of the floors, but OIT and the link, the big desk, the sort of version of the Genius bar that they want, it's in the lower level. And so that's where you want to go. A lot of times people have trouble printing and they come to the desk. I don't know what to do about that. I'm a librarian. I don't know. And so I say, let's head down to the link. I'll hand walk you to the link all day long if you want. So I also want to point out this fun fact thing here. This is one of the most common questions we get. When does the library close? So what you can do is go to this all libraries and hours. You have to have a mask on if you're not vaccinated. If you're not vaccinated, I encourage you to get vaccinated. Every time there's a variant, I get a booster because I'm immune compromised. And so, you can look at which libraries, right? The exhibits suite, there's a really good Muslim exhibit right now. Music library, you can check out if you happen to have access to a CD port in any of your devices. You can, I'm not going to say that you can rip music, but like what you do at your house is your business. Then Lily also, I have a 64 gig iPod Touch and I have hundreds of hours of jazz on it. Okay, so then Lily Library, super great place to get videos. Like, so they have DVDs, which is also another kind of, it's just like the CD. It's just like, off in the distance, off in the, horizon. So there are tons and tons of DVDs. But really the great thing at Lilly Library is a librarian called Danette Packner. And she is a person who is the media librarian. I also used to be a media librarian. And now everything or almost everything is streaming. Now, there's still a bunch of DVDs. So if you ever want to say, let's say that you are going to be like teaching a class for some special reason, or you're going to come in and have some kind of presentation and you want to have some, access to a complimentary, maybe like a documentary or something about what your work is or something like that. You can always contact Danette Packner at Lilly Library, and you can find that by clicking on Lilly Library's address and finding her out. And so the Rubenstein Rare Book and Manuscript Library, unless you're a kind of postdoc that I don't know about, maybe you would use stuff like there's a medical history collection in there. And so let's say that you might have some kind of appointment on the medical side, and you might want to look at those. So you think, oh, rare book and manuscript, but there's a lot going on in that library, a whole lot. That's where people have their papers deposited. So for example, you could find the history of the psychology and neuroscience department originating papers. And it was initially about finding, or it was initially set up about psychics, right? And then they had like the cards that, you'd be in another room and you'd guess the card. And that was like the origin of psychology and neuroscience as a department. That was their standout. Like they were like, we're gonna figure this out. Obviously, it didn't really turn out that way, but it did continue. And so they have very interesting resources in that library. And so you wouldn't think like, oh, well, I'm just gonna blah, 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 I don't really know what to do or where to go. You can always ask. There's always a desk in front of somebody. And there's always somebody behind the desk that can help you. Study spaces might be worthwhile, but I don't think that postdocs really, I imagine that everybody has their own apartment or house or something, but you could also come to the libraries and study, occupy a room. You can reserve spaces. Let me show you how to do that on the first page. So here we are. Group study, which is not necessarily always a group, but this is where you would find library spaces, right? So we have a variety. So noise level, we have 39 conversational studies where you can be like, hey man, can I have a pencil? And will you watch my coffee while I go downstairs and get another coffee? So that's like, you can talk. Considerate study, that's more like a frowny face, like you don't want to be like a jerk, but you're like. And then absolute quiet, there's 7 spaces like that. Features food free, right? If you are in a reading room and somebody pulls out, like a triple decker pastrami sandwich, you could stay, you could go, but it's a smell thing as well. So non-reservable, I don't know why they would say 41 non-reservable. If they're not non-reservable, why are they on? And then the group study, which is, we have a one room for students who are like when they're doing their theses, right? Their undergraduate thesis, if they're trying to graduate with distinction, there's a special room for them. There's also another room that is called, and this is reservable equipment reading room. We have a couple of those. Apparently that we have 9 of them. Graduate student space 2. And then an interview room. So let's say that you just got a Genius Award and you have you have a lot of money, and then you want to make a phone call, right? And you're in the library and they want to if you have your cell phone and it doesn't have a good connection, we have an actual old school telephone that you could use for an interview. You could use for something like that. So there are 2 of those here. There's a wellness room. I think that's the Oasis. Food available, places for events. There's a new event system, and we are really trying to iron it out a little bit because it just sort of popped up. And then the library, Perkins, Bostock, Lilly, music library, between Perkins and Bostock. What's between Perkins? Oh yeah, so there's also rooms like that. So there's also the Gothic reading room. If you ever really, really super dug Harry Potter, you should take a trip to the Gothic reading room, because that's exactly what it looks like. Bring your broom or your Quidditch or whatever you want. And there's various locations, and then law library too. They don't have anything for anybody. Look at that. Medical center library. Nope. Nobody can. Yeah, you can go in there, but you can't. Yeah. Okay. Well, do your best with that, I'm going to say. And this is what the interview room is, that the 2 interview rooms. So there's Perkins lower level 2, reservable interview room with telephone number, whiteboard, table and seating, interview room 130. If you want right now, you can take a screenshot of these 2 rooms. These interview rooms are often booked up. depending on the time of the semester. Okay, so you can navigate around this biznaz. Library toolbox for responsible research in the sciences and engineering. So that's not for y'all, because y'all are, I think that's for the new graduate students. Library toolbox for research in the sciences and engineering again. All right, so there we go. Does anybody have any questions? What I really would like to do is to just give you like the basic stuff. So this My Accounts, that is where you have all of the books that you have checked out. That's the titles of the books that you have checked out and their return date. And the return date. We want our books back. And so my account looks like this. I'm going to go to my own library account. And I'm hoping for the best. I don't know what I have checked out.
Hi, Ciara. We got a question about
Okay.
how you check out books. Is your Duke library card the same as your Duke ID? And
Yes, it is.
for employees, so they can just use their Duke card to check out.
Correct. Not only can you use the Duke card as your ID, which it is, you can also use it at UNC, NCCU, and NC State. Because we have a little consortium. It's the TRLN, the Triangle Research Library Network. And so you might have to come to Perkins Library or a library to figure that out, to figure out how, like what you have to do to make your card be applicable for all of those universities. And so that's, so the people in ADS, which is Access Delivery Services, which is not my department, but I'm down there all the time because I'm a reference librarian. What you would want to do is make sure that you really understand how to get access to these other universities, to their physical materials. You can request those. You don't need to like go there, but if you want to go there, you can. One of the unfortunate things about ebooks is that they do not lend. And so when you want a book, like, so you can look and see that UNC has this book that you want. And there's a couple ways to do that. And if it's an ebook, it will never be able to come to you. They will not send it to you. It's not a thing. It's a thing about how scholarly publishing now starts to work. It's becoming narrower and narrower and narrower and narrower. And so what you could do is drive over. If you get your card set up that way and you go over, or you could take the Robertson Scholar bus. I know that that's like the in-between bus, but whatever. And you can just check it out. And you could do the same thing at NC State and NCCU. So.
Sorry, one more question. How about family members, partners, spouses?
So yes, those are all possible permutations. So basically what it is, it sets up a proxy account. So it could be your account, and then you could get your spouse an account, or your partner an account. And that's how that would look. So yeah, usually you can just go up to the desk, and the people at the desk, not the student necessarily, the student workers at the desk, try to like find an adult. That's a big tip right there. But also the student workers are all very competent as well. They probably know more than I do about the guts of the library. I'm just like trying to help you with your research. Okay, I'm going to log in, and this is what it looks like. Nothing. Okay, so this is me, right? So here's Perkins. Look at all my fines. Yep, you got it right here. Look at that. I got a $100 fine. Credited. Ooh, hot dog. Not paid, not paid, not paid. Okay, I got some money to pay. And this is for real. This is real-time librarian street cred right here. Like I got like $200. Okay, well, now we know. The vegan slow cooker also, none of these. Okay, this is crazy. Oh, Charles Mingus. I already got that one. Oh, I don't think I. Okay. So this is what it will look like to you. So about your library account over here on the left, your profile, not mine, it's my own. Here's, and then fines and fees, you already saw some of those. Titles on loan, you already saw some of those. Hold recall requests, And then also related library accounts. So you can have an interlibrary loan account. That is choice. Because we have several different, not really consortia, but several different places that we go first for getting books for you. So if we don't have the books and it's not in the TRLN and you want to get it from MIT or you want to get it from the University of Chicago, you're going to need an interlibrary loan account. And that's how you get books from other places. So outside of the TRLN, and again, that's Duke, UNC, NCCU, and NC State. Well, you know what? We're just going to do it. We're just going to do it. I'm going back to the front page. Okay, come on. Okay, Duke Libraries, here we go. All right, so if you wanted to get a book from another university that's not of the four, what you want to do is go to Interlibrary Requests, which is a fancy name for ask another library to give it to me, which is exactly what that is. And you'll get it, and you'll get an email, and it'll say your book's here. And then you come to the library where you have your books, where you have, like, you can choose which library on which campus that you send your books to. And then you're here at Interlibrary Requests. So Interlibrary Loan, search the catalog, search the TRLN shared catalog, which I can show you. Then you'll need to borrow it through Duke Requests. However, if it's not available, then you can request through Interlibrary Loan step 2. Okay, here we go. COVID, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Okay, so TRLN Direct or Borrow Direct will appear in your library account. So you need an interlibrary loan account to get books from other universities that are not TRLN. And then Duke Requests. So again, right here, you can use the green request button for materials from NC Central, NC State, and UNC Chapel Hill, but not NCCU. That's surprising. I'm not going to make any remarks about that. Review loan periods, about borrowing, interlibrary use programs, UNC, NCSU, and NCCU. There we go. Patrons with disabilities. This is my area. I'm the liaison for this. And so if you have if you have a disability, let's just say it's something that's like, it's not one of the big top 3, like being in a wheelchair, being deaf, or being blind. Like if you have like dyslexia, or if you have an anxiety disorder or something like that, that is something that you could approach me about, and then we could work with the Student Disability Access Office or whatever version of that is for postdocs. I hope there is one. Okay, so missing materials, y'all got to pay for that. Suggest a purchase. You can always suggest a title. So if you click on suggest a title, suggest a purchase, sorry. This is me. So if I wanted to suggest a purchase, it's just, you just fill out the title request. You need to have the full citation. You don't need the ISBN, or if you want, you could just fill it out all the way. And if you have a rush, which means that are people who are in the warehouse area over there next to the bus depot, they have a specific option for rush. That means that if you really need that book, like you really, really need that book, that's what rush is for. So you could say specify if rush for a course and a course name and number, specify if needed rush to you for research, specify if this item is not rushed to the general collection. So does anybody have any questions? There's quite a bit going on, like behind the scenes, and you don't always see those, and you don't always want to like click through 10 million pages, but this is sort of how it goes. So I also want to suggest that you look up the policies as well. Right, so you could always just copy this link, and then you can come right back to this page. You can put it in your notes field, or you can write it down or something like that. So interlibrary requests is something like if something goes wrong, like, oh, I should have gotten that book, but it hasn't come yet, and I don't know why it hasn't come yet, or where is it? And so you can always email that account and say, I'm sort of hung up here and I need some help around this. And librarians love to help. So you can also fill out a search form, which is, oh, the catalog says the book's on the shelf. I go to the shelf, it's not there. And then like, what do? You just stand around, right? But you can fill out a search form, which some of the undergraduate students, they will search for that book in the stacks so that you don't have to. If it's not in the right spot, you can fill out that form. And we'll search for the missing item and email you with our findings. Yes. So you could basically borrow books from any library that we liaise with. And so it's pretty handy. You got to give them back. Does anybody have any questions about interlibrary requests? How you can get books that Duke doesn't have? Do we have 7 million volumes? Yes, we do. But that's nothing in comparison to the combined Ivy's Plus libraries, which is what we go to Borrow Direct, which is a subset of Ivy's Plus. We go to, that's our first stop, right? We don't go to, you know, some other North Carolina school. So that is what you would need to do to find a book. Let me also show you a super duper thing that you may have never seen. Probably you have though, because of your postdocs. Let me just show you this one little thing. And it is called WorldCat. It's a catalog of all the participating catalogs in the world. And if you want to find a book, does anybody want to have a little like, oh, I know a book that I want to find, and tell me the title and we'll put it in. Let's see what happens. Anybody? Anyone?
Oh, we just got to
Spelled that wrong.
Finding
Oh,
Women in the State.
someone speak.
Yep. So we just got Lin Shan posted Finding Women in the State, a socialist feminist revolution in the People's Republic of China, 1949 to 1964.
Okay, so if you could say that slower, very slow.
Finding Women.
Hang on. Finding Women
in the State.
Okay. Oh, come on. Okay, Finding Women in the State, right here. All right, let's see. Socialist Feminist Revolution, People's Republic of China. Bam. Blam. So, University of California Press, super great. And then what you would do here, it's also available as a print book. So this is also true. You don't have to go to WorldCat. You could start with Duke, and if you can't find it with Duke, then you come to WorldCat and you find the places where there's all formats and editions. So an ebook that will never come to you, They do not lend. Finding Women in the print books, right of first sale. So far, so good that we're not going to be like drained of all of our books because of, ebooks. University of California Press, University, right, print book by White. It also doesn't say like where it is. Hang on. Yes. View all formats and editions. Okay, so featured libraries. Life University Library, whatever that is, Georgia Institute of Technology, Atlanta University Center, Woodruff Library. Yeah, we could probably get this from Emory. Oh no, yeah, I think that's Emory. Oglethorpe, also in Georgia. There's Emory, the Robert Woodruff Library. Yeah. Agnes Scott College, pretty good. So there's a lot of them, right? There's a lot of them to be available. And so what you would do, the person who asked about this title, what you would do is copy and paste into the request for interlibrary loan, and our interlibrary loan librarians will find it for you, or they won't. right? It might be checked, like the day you do it, somebody at Oglethorpe is like, oh man, I've been looking for this for my thesis for a long time, or for my dissertation for a long time. And so you might not get it. But as you could see, there's 1,159 libraries that have this book in six editions in 11159 libraries, showing a bunch of, I don't know why Georgia is featuring so much. So that's how you would do it, right? So keep in mind WorldCat, if you can save the WorldCat link, right? Like, so for example, I could do that. And now I'm always going to be going to WorldCat, right? So that's in my computer, that's starred. If it's starred, that means I can go straight to it as long as I have this link. Any other questions coming up? You could also buy it.
We also had a question from Aaron. Is interlibrary loan what we use for research journal articles not accessible online?
So that is a little bit of a tough one, but yes, ILL is inclusive of both of book chapters and journal articles that we don't have. If we don't subscribe to that journal, that's the only other way that you can get it. And it might be easier instead of asking interlibrary loan. So there's quite a bit of overlap between what we subscribe to. And so it's always the case that you would probably want to go to like UNC, NCCU, and NC State first from that, so that you can see, so that you can get it more quickly. You wouldn't have to go to, you wouldn't have to find something in Georgia. You would start, really, it's better to just start with the little TRLN. And let me show you how that looks, which is, okay. All right, here we go. So what we're doing here, books and media. You see this right here? It will always pop up. Search Duke, and you search all of them at once. So does anybody have another title that they were thinking about and want to see if we have it in the TRLN? Because it's searching all of the catalogs in the TRLN at the same time. Anybody have a title that they want to show?
How about the Academic Job Search Handbook, a favorite of many postdocs?
I bet I almost can guarantee you that there's at least going to be 2 or 3 of these in this. Bam, right at the top, NC State. Look at this right here. View online, NC State login only. Does that mean that you can go there and read it? Yes, but you can't bring it because guess what? It's a book online and it doesn't lend. Academic jobs, hands, Duke libraries available. You better get going. Oh, look, there's another one at UNC. Race you for the Robertson Scholar bus. So Duke, we have it online too. I knew it would be at every single one of those. I knew it. And then also UNC has it and State has it. NCCU, apparently they do not have that. And again, these are just earlier editions, and you probably want the most current edition, which happens to be, as I'm looking at it. Okay, well, we also have the 2016 edition, which is the 5th edition. So now we know. And there seem to be plenty of them, that's for sure. But really pay attention to the dates of these, because you don't want some kind of outdated, like you can get on some weird, whatever, like you can get on DuckDuckGo and find it now or whatever. I don't know. So that's super handy. And you can, apparently there's 48 of them in the TRLN network. Now we know. Now we know. So do you have any other questions? Do you have questions regarding, I mean, obviously, we already had the question about getting an article or a book chapter that you would need through interlibrary loan. But are there any other things that you would need? Like, if you need something for your research, you should really start by using this search. So if I go back to the Duke Libraries to the front page, and I go to books and media, so search in this. Also, that's not a thing for articles. This is searching for that. New books, NC Central Libraries, TRLN, bloop. Okay. Autism, industrial complex, that's fascinating. NC Central Libraries, hey, they're back. Right on. Historical pandemic analysis implications. Try our search tips. You can ask a librarian some more if you need help. This is pretty great. Auto landscape. Huh. So yeah. So does anybody have any questions? Because I'm about to check this book out. And if your question is about Jean-Michel Basquiat, you're gonna have to wait till I'm done. And you know that I don't really have a good track record. You just saw all my finds. Okay, but I'm doing it anyway. On order. Okay. Now we know the rise and fall of our feelings around things that we want and things that we can't get, or things that we can get, but we still want, but still we can't get it. So there's that. So does anybody have any specific questions? Do you have questions regarding, let's say, how many of the postdocs are supervising undergraduate students or graduate students in their labs? So you might want to think about how those students, or what access they have to what's going on in the labs. And so you might want to find, like, maybe like brush up on something compared to what your research agenda is, but you might want to brush up a little bit to be like, how would you treat a difficult conversation in the lab about, you know, with an undergraduate who's just like doing and entering data, for example. And so there's a broader range, right? So this is not just about you and your research necessarily, if you're supervising undergraduates or early graduate students. And so you might want to use the libraries to brush up on how you can have good conversation, how you can talk to students or you know, colleagues in a way that makes you come across as a interested and competent person, not just about your research, but how you interact in a lab, or just, you know, in general, like if you're, you know, teaching a class or something like that. Oh, look at that.
I have a question about that, Ciara. So
Yeah.
I know you're the reference librarian for math and physics, I think. So
yeah, psychology, neuroscience, mathematics, and physics. Yes.
would you, if a postdoc is teaching a class, would you be able to go to the class and explain the resources that you have available?
Yeah. So could you say the class again? What?
Or just like, if a postdoc is teaching a class, would you or one of your colleagues be able to go to the class and say?
Absolutely. We do that all the live long day. Invite me to your class. I'll stay there for however much you want, or you can explain what exactly you are hoping for. Because if you're teaching, that's one thing. But in a lab, like, you know, the students are undergraduate students might be doing a lot of scut work, but there's also things like, do you want the people in your lab to use the one kind of citation software and everybody has to use that, or things like that, where students are working within the systems in your lab or in your classroom. But it's also the case that if they don't understand how to use citation managers, like EndNote or Zotero. That's something that I support Zotero for the university. And I have a bunch of, like, every time I showed off, they're like, oh my God, because it has a write in sight connector in Word. And the students are just like, I have literally been applauded in a classroom of undergraduate. They're like, because they all use Noodle tools, which is literally, when I'm like, well, what do you use? And they're like, Noodle. And I'm just like, pasta does not have a role in the library. So, yeah. Does anybody have any other questions? So do you have questions about fines? A lot of people call on the telephone and they say, I thought I turned that book in. Well, sometimes they get snippy and they're like, I know I returned that book. And I'm just like, and then, but you get a big fine. So really try to never misplace your books. Have a system so that you do not have to pay $250 to the provost. Now we know.
Lynn Sean has a question. Lynn Sean, would you like to unmute yourself?
Yes, I have a question about, again, it's related to teaching, and also I'm wondering how, when I use the Lilly library to reserve some DVDs,
yeah,
there's the library call number. Is that
that's how we keep everything in order.
Yeah, is that the
librarians,
OCLC number?
The OCLC number?
My question is actually, I cannot find the call number.
You can't find the call number of a DVD?
Yeah, I can show you this page, and then could you tell me what's the call number?
Okay, go for it.
Yeah, I have several DVD that I need to reserve and then put it in the live streaming.
So
I've been taught how to do this through Lilly Library, but I don't know what's the call number right now.
This is what I'm going to do. I'm going to help you out right now.
Okay, great.
Lynn Sean, I just made you co-host so you can share your screen if you have it pulled up.
Oh, sure. I'm just on this page.
And okay, so that's who you would talk to at Lilly, but let me see your page.
Yeah, and this is the library call number that I need to fill in, and this is the page of the DVD.
I don't see what you're seeing.
Oh,
really? You have to share your screen. So it's
okay, great. Thank you.
Right. Oh, I can stop share. You can go now.
Okay, let me try again. So can you see it now?
Yes, I can.
So where's the call number?
This is it. So DVDs are a different thing than books. And so they have a different system. And this is also at the Library Service Center. So it's not at Lilly. The Library Service Center is a place. So remember when I said, we have 7 million volumes, we have more than that. And the majority of those are in a gigantic warehouse, like 1.5 miles away. And when you click this request button, which is how you're going to get this DVD, click that request button. You see it, the big green one? Okay. And then it will, and here we go. You are going to be our test case. You want to put in your net ID?
Okay.
Okay. That's your net ID?
I think so.
Okay. Usually it's a combination of letters and numbers. But if it's not for you, that's...
Oh, yeah. It's wrong.
That's right. Just saying. Your LJ274. Yes, there we go. Right. And so you can request this from the Library Service Center. It will come to you.
Okay.
And it will be held for you for pickup. So you click request, you pick a library. It doesn't have to be Perkins Bostock. It doesn't have to be Lilly. It doesn't have...
Yeah, Lilly is Lilly the only one on the East Campus?
Correct.
Yes, that would be great because I'm closer to East
and then
Campus.
Place request.
Okay.
Okay. You look, it's now being processed. Look at that. So we have many more books than you might imagine, even though there's 7 libraries or like 9 libraries on this campus. The LSC, they have these giant cherry pickers because it's this huge building, and then you go up in a big basket, like you're fixing a telephone pole, and they pull the basket off and then your item is in there and then they send it to you. They send it to you in a little truck that goes from all of the TRLN libraries all day. It starts wherever.
But
and then they
how
mark.
can I do the, what's that called? The streaming thing now?
Well, if they have the title that you want, that's on the DVD, that's
Yeah.
one kind of resource, right? So it's like, it's a
Oh,
different.
so I don't need to put a call number.
No, they already have it. It's coming to you already. You don't have to do anything else except go to Lilly Library and pick it up when you get an email.
Yeah, but then I pick it up and then it's a DVD, but I actually,
But if you want to stream it, you
Online
need
streaming,
to look inside the chat and see when I put Danette Packner,
you mean this
this
page?
person's name? No, it's in the chat in this.
Hmm?
No, I want you to go to the chat.
Or which chat? This one?
No, the one that we're in, hang on.
Oh, the
See
chat?
this guy? And how, share. Okay, this is my, oh, come on, really? Okay, so I would like us to go to oh, that's not it. I'm stopped sharing. I want to share something else. Okay, so I would like to,
Let me try.
okay.
How's that?
Do you see Danette Packner? Yes. So that person is the librarian for film and video. So what
Okay.
what you should do is take her email address here.
Okay.
Okay. And then you will email her and say, hey, I just wanted a DVD from the LSC and it's on the way to
Mhm,
Lilly.
mhm.
And then you want to say, does this stream or is it only just the DVD?
Okay.
Yeah, so you would have to have a little face-to-face or a little email exchange with her.
Okay. Yeah, I think I'll do that.
Yep, she's super, super helpful.
Okay. Yeah, because
Yeah.
there are some things that I really need to check, like is there English subtitle, things like that. So, okay, I will do that.
Yeah, you could schedule an appointment, or you could just go over there
Mm-hmm.
or both, right? And so she has time on Friday. There you go.
Okay.
Hot diggity. And then select your time over here on the right. She has two opportunities on the 26th. You
Okay.
can go at 12:50 or 1:40.
Okay.
You see it? You gotta pick one.
Yeah, let me go to her page.
Yeah.
Oh, I see. Okay. I will do
Uh-huh.
it.
Yeah, so either choose a 12:50 appointment,
Mm-hmm.
just click on it.
That's actually my screen. So if I click on it, I might
You-
wait. Lynn Sean's appointment.
Yeah, I will do it. I will do it by myself.
Okay.
Yeah, because right now I have too many orientations going on. I don't know.
Tell me about it.
My
Tell
schedule.
me about it.
But thank you so much for this.
Sure. Does anybody else have a question? Are you worried about trying to find stuff? If not, that's okay. But if you do have a question, now would be a good time because I have an orientation in math coming up at 2:30, which is fine. I've got plenty of time. But if any of you have questions that are sort of just, knocking around, you can let me know. Or if you have some idea of let's say that you wanted the students in your lab to use Zotero instead of EndNote, for example, or whatever. I could come to your lab and say, well, this is how you do it. And it doesn't take a long time. It's not like, it's not rocket science. It's, capturing citations, not a, Yeah, it's not rocket science. So, so for the person, so Aaron Deal, Aaron, let me follow up on your question. So is ILL what we use for research journal articles not accessible online? Yes, that's correct. So if you have the full citation of said article, you would go to the front page of the library and look at the requests button. It's on the far side on the front page, and it's Interlibrary Requests is the link that you would find. And then you would have to, you need to have an ILL account. So that's step one. And so what you do with that is just fill out a little form. And it's usually like, this is where I want to pick up my books every time. This is, basically that's what it is. If you fill out the form, it will always be connected to you and your net ID. And so you could just type away and ask for however many books that you have. I have to say that faculty are the worst perpetrators of hoarding books. And so you got to work fast, because I have seen many faculty members just have stuff all around their offices, and then they lend them out to people because they like to be generous, and then we never get it back, and that is not a good idea, because nobody ever wants to say to, you know, an emeritus or a faculty member who's a, you know, who's been in the same office for, you know, 30 years or whatever, like, oh, you owe us, you know, $15,000 in books that we don't have anymore. So keep in mind that we will come for you ultimately. So yeah, have good habits around returning your books, and then everybody's happy and you get to come to the library again. Yeah.
But don't you have an amnesty day, Ciara?
Do we?
Do you?
I don't. I'm a research librarian. I'm not at the ADS desk. I mean, they might have some, you know, some other versions. But usually they're very generous in forgiving those. But once it gets kicked up to the provost, the bursar, I mean, right, the bursar's office, we have big frown face. We're just like, oh, yeah, you just have to pay that. I also have to pay, like, as you, I also have to pay. So now we know. So does anybody have any other questions, concerns around anything that you want access to in the library? You can always reach out to me, and I can see what I can do. But I also, like, obviously I'm not a, you know, stellar example of being good with not messing around with the books that you check out. So now you know.
Well, thank you so much, Ciara. We know you have to go to your next appointment. This was just amazing. I learned a lot. And we will definitely be visiting you at the library.
Okay.
Or
Super.
libraries, depending on where
Yes.
our offices and labs are. All right. Thanks so much for joining us, everyone.
All righty.
Thanks again, Ciara.
Yeah, you're welcome. See you later.